Good morning, I'm Barbara, and welcome to Barbara's Bulletin. Today we're focusing on a developing story that has significant implications for global humanitarian efforts. The Houthi government in Yemen has announced that detained United Nations staff will face trial on suspicion of links to an Israeli airstrike that killed top Houthi leaders in August. This development comes after the Houthis detained at least 59 UN personnel, according to the United Nations, which has condemned these detentions as arbitrary and called for the immediate release of its personnel. The acting foreign minister of the Houthi government, Abdulwahid Abul-Ras, stated that the process is moving towards a conclusion, leading to trials and judicial rulings. He also alleged that a cell within the World Food Programme was involved in directly targeting the government, an accusation the UN has repeatedly rejected. The defendants, all Yemenis, could face the death penalty under Yemeni law. This situation highlights the increasingly difficult environment for the UN to provide aid in Yemen, where hundreds of UN personnel remain in Houthi-controlled areas. The Houthis have controlled large parts of Yemen since 2014 and have been at odds with Israel, which launched a military campaign against Iran's allies after being attacked by Hamas in 2023. It's essential to approach this story with a balanced perspective, considering the complexities of the conflict and the humanitarian needs of the Yemeni people. The UN's role in providing assistance to those in need must be facilitated, even as we acknowledge the security concerns and political dynamics at play. As we delve deeper into this story and its implications, it's crucial to remember that the fate of detained UN staff and the future of humanitarian work in Yemen hang in the balance. We will continue to follow developments and provide updates as more information becomes available. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're continuing our discussion on global defense and security matters. In a significant development, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has reaffirmed the United States' commitment to defending its interests in the Indo-Pacific region. During a meeting with Chinese Admiral Dong Jun, Hegseth emphasized the importance of maintaining a balance of power in the region. This statement comes at a time when tensions between the U.S. and China are running high, with both nations vying for influence in the strategic Indo-Pacific region. The U.S. has been increasingly concerned about China's growing military presence and assertive behavior in the South China Sea, where several countries have competing territorial claims. Meanwhile, Malaysia's Defense Minister Mohammed Khaled Nordin has called for ASEAN member states to expand their defense cooperation into cyberspace. Speaking at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Defense Ministers meeting, Nordin warned that regional peace faces growing pressure from both traditional and emerging threats, including cyber attacks that can disrupt societies and undermine critical infrastructure. The ASEAN defense ministers are set to hold talks with dialogue partners, including the US, China, Japan, India, Australia, South Korea, and Russia. These discussions will likely focus on maritime security, counter-terrorism, and cybersecurity, among other issues. It's worth noting that the US and Malaysia have reaffirmed their commitment to maritime security in the South China Sea, with both nations emphasizing the importance of respect for sovereignty. This is seen as a subtle swipe at China, which has been accused of using gray zone tactics to assert its claims in the disputed waters. As we continue to monitor these developments, it's clear that the Indo-Pacific region will remain a key focal point for global defense and security discussions. The complex interplay between nations, combined with the rise of new threats such as cyber attacks, will require careful diplomacy and cooperation to maintain regional stability. Good afternoon, and welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we conclude today's program, I'd like to shift our focus to a pressing international issue that has been unfolding in recent days. The ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has taken a devastating toll on civilians, with the latest developments sparking widespread concern. According to reports from reputable sources, including the Moscow Times and Ukrainian officials, a fresh wave of overnight drone strikes has hit the northern Ukrainian city of Sumy, injuring at least 11 people, including 4 children. The attacks have also damaged energy facilities, prompting emergency power restrictions across the country. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has stated that Russia launched 650 drones and 50 missiles nationwide, targeting critical infrastructure and civilian populations. The Ukrainian government has accused Russia of deliberately attempting to disrupt the country's power supplies ahead of the winter months, with Prime Minister Yulia Spyridhenko vowing to keep the lights on despite these challenges. The humanitarian situation in Ukraine remains dire, with millions of people affected by the conflict. The United Nations and other international organizations have called for an immediate cessation of hostilities and a negotiated settlement to the crisis. As we report on this complex and sensitive issue, it's essential to acknowledge the suffering of innocent civilians caught in the midst of the conflict. We must also recognize the efforts of humanitarian workers, diplomats, and leaders working tirelessly to broker peace and provide aid to those in need. In conclusion, the situation in Ukraine serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of war and the importance of diplomacy, dialogue, and cooperation in resolving conflicts. As we close today's Barbara's Bulletin, I encourage our listeners to stay informed, empathize with those affected, and support efforts towards peace and reconciliation. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.